All right. Welcome to the Gaspard podcast. Today we're going to be talking about some new news boudin. Welcome to the Gaspard podcast. Today we're talking about keeping things in your inner circle. So what I mean by that is you don't have to tell everything to everybody. So like you hear the phrase people talk about, you work hard in silence and let your success speak for you. So meaning you don't have to go and tell everybody what you're doing and how good you are at it and all these things. And we've all had those times in our lives where we're prideful and we all have egos to some degree, and we want attention to some degree. I spent a lot of years of my life really wanting a lot of attention, so I would tell everybody exactly what I was going to be doing before I did it, so I can draw a crowd around me to help pump me up.
I think you also did that too because you needed the reassurance. You have a hard time making a decision. Mm-hmm. So every decision that you had to make, it's almost like you had to check with other people first before you could make that decision.
I'm glad you said that because that's actually more important than where I was going with it. So I was so indecisive growing up. If you go listen to any of my videos, we talk about my childhood where I was growing up in such a controlled environment where I was never taught how to think and make decisions for myself. Mm-hmm. So when I became an adult and I had to, I would always look to other people to help me make that decision and not ask them, hey, make this decision for me. It's like, I would come with, some idea and, hey, do you think this is a good idea? And depending on what that person said, determine if I was going to actually pursue it or not. And most of the time, it was probably the opposite of what I needed to do. Because again, I talk about this all the time where God gives the desire to us for us to do, not for someone else. And, I'm reminded, I just can't help but think about Noah. God gave Noah the direction to build the ark. Now imagine right now, as you're listening to this video, your neighbor starts building an ark. And actually right now, it'll probably be about the time like what Noah was talking about. And I'm not talking about, hey, my neighbor bought a boat. I'm talking about if he was building a cruise ship in his yard, dry docked, and you live in the middle of Kansas, right? Nothing, no water, nothing. You would think that person is a complete lunatic. Now imagine if God told Noah to build that ark, and Noah would have went to his neighbor and said, man, God told me to build this ark.
What do you think?
We live in the middle of the desert. What do you think that's a good idea? His neighbor would have been like, no, man, you misinterpreted that dream. God didn't tell you that. Why would he tell you to build an ark here? Mm-hmm. Look, we're surrounded by land. There's no water. Man, I'm sure glad he built the ark.
Right.
So that's the importance of keeping things in your inner circle, not spreading it around with other people. Not, you know who you could talk to about it, and you know what you're doing if you're looking for that approval from someone else, and because you'll get destroyed. You either get destroyed by it one way or another. Somebody will talk you out of it, or somebody will encourage you to go down a path that you're not supposed to go. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you have to be able to tell the difference between when to accept an opinion from someone and when not to. If I go to a doctor and the doctor tells me, there's something going on with my health and he gives me an opinion on that, I'm probably going to want to take his advice. I'm probably going to want to listen to what he has to say. If I go to a friend and say, hey, I have this dream that I want to open a business, and that friend who tells me maybe they don't think it's such a good idea because the economy, because all these things, or I'm not good at it, or no one's ever done it before, well, that's a totally different story because God gave the dream to me. So you have to be able to discern who to take advice from and who to look at it in the perspective of that person may not feel like they could do it, so they're telling me they don't think I can do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because, it's like, that story that you just said reminds me of Henry Ford. I mean, if he'd went and asked people, what they needed at the time and, how he can help them, they'd have just wanted faster horses. They wouldn't have said, man, we want a vehicle. Mm-hmm. And, if he'd have went and asked his buddy if he thought that was a good idea, he'd have told him, man, no one's ever done that before. You can't do that. But yet he did. Nothing is really impossible. It's just, you have to know that you can do it, and you don't want to get discouraged by that. And like, I got caught in that trap for many years where I was literally a highlighter. One day I needed help. Because I just could not make a decision on what shade of yellow highlighter to use. And Brandy came and was just like, here, we just use this one. Didn't even look at him, just gave me one to use. And I was like, perfect, that's perfect. Yeah, absolutely. How much sense does that make? It makes zero sense, and that's mild, but I mean, really deep thoughts and really deep desires, where you're meant to do something important that no one else will understand because it was given to you. You really need to be careful of who you share that with. You really need to be careful of who you share that with. You need to let God develop that.
Mm-hmm. This morning, the reason the topic came up is because I was reading in Matthew, and Jesus took James, John, and Peter, and he revealed himself to those three in his true form and his glory. And he didn't reveal himself to all of them, all 12 of them. It was only those three, because those three were special to him. They were the ones in his inner circle, his closest circle, and that's who he revealed himself to. And there was a reason for that, and it was because they were the ones who were the closest. And we need to think of that. We can't just go around revealing all of ourselves to just anyone. It has to be somebody that we trust, somebody that's close to us, that we know has the best intentions for us, and that we can trust their opinion. Our pastor is one. Mm-hmm. Your doctors should be another if it's something that has to do with your health. Those kind of things.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be anything severe like that. It could just be, like, everything about me. Mm-hmm. You know me better than anyone else. Mm-hmm. Heidi knows a lot about me. We're close.
Probably too much.
She probably knows way too much about me. She probably wishes. She just said no comment, by the way. So, I don't want everybody to know everything about me. Not only the bad stuff, but some of the good stuff. Because a lot of the good stuff, I only want you to know about. Right. I don't want everybody to know about it. There's a certain level of comfort that I'm going to have with Heidi or Eric or my friends that people will know about. But again, that's those different circles. Each one of these people are in different circles. So they get to see a little bit, not a different part of me, just more or less of me.
Right.
Because I'm not a different person. I don't act different in front of different people. Mm-hmm. I just might turn off certain things and not let it go all the way. Yeah. With you, there's no filter. It's you know everything. I'm all me. Everything's wide open. But with a stranger, I'm still the same person. I'm not going to be different. I'm not going to be, oh, he's so different around me. He acts like someone else. No, I don't. I just shut off certain things,
Right.
you know, a certain level where they can't see everything about me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more you get to know me, the more that opens up.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, you know, everyone needs to do that because no one needs to know everything about you. I mean, think of the damage that could be done if they knew everything about you. That person's intention, God may have sent that person in your life to be an enemy so he can grow you.
Yeah.
I've had that.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that. And I've let those enemies, they come as friends. They don't show up as an enemy. They come. A couple years later, something happens. And now y'all no longer friends. Now that person knows a bunch of information about you that they're going to go and tell and just twist a little bit, make you look like a bad guy,
right? Mm-hmm.
Like something's wrong with you. So you just have to be cautious of that. And I'm not saying be guarded with everybody that you meet or become friends with, but you have to discern where that's at. You know, what's the purpose of this person in my life? You know, my circle's very small. And every outside circle is very small. I don't associate with a bunch of people, you know.
Right.
I mean, we try to inspire people. We're on here, you know, a bunch of people look at us and see us, but there's not a bunch of people who know us. And I think people think they do, but they don't. Yeah. A lot of people know the old me, you know. We all have past. We all have, you know, things that we wish we wouldn't have done. We all have those negative things that happen. We all have the positive things that happen that, you know, again, people know, but people change. And as you change and as you grow and as you age, you're going to realize those circles get a little bit smaller. You add, like I add circles, you know, like I'm in the center. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, and I'm in that circle by myself.
You and God.
Me and God. That next circle is, you know, you. And then the next one has my kids and then my friends and acquaintances, and the circles grow and grow, and they have huge circles around us. And most people think of adding circles, oh, well, we meet someone, we add them to the outside. I add circles more to the inside, where people get smaller and smaller. So like I have close friends, and let's just say they're in that 5th circle, and mm-hmm. we're close. As I grow and gain more wisdom, I become more of a private person, even though that seems the opposite because now we're doing these videos and letting people in.
Yeah.
But the more we do these videos and let you in, what I actually did was tighten. I put a circle on the inside. So now those friends that was in 5, now they're in 4, not all of them, just a few of them. And then, you know, as that grows, I might add another circle and I might take 2 out of the 5 friends, and that might be in an inner circle. So I don't really add circles. Everybody that I meet, they start all the way on circle number 10, let's just say, for number's sake.
Yeah.
And you just add those circles on the inside. But you just got to be guarded with it. People don't need to know everything about you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They don't need to know your plans.
Right.
You keep that to yourself.
You don't even tell me your plans right away.
Mm-mm.
You let it sit for a while, and then as it grows, then eventually you'll come and say, hey, I have an idea, or I've been thinking about doing something.
Right.
But you have to remember God gave a dream or your purpose to you. He gave mine to me. So I'm not going to feel the same way about something, more than likely, as you do.
Right.
It will be important to me because it's important to you. But he didn't give it to me. Just like he didn't give my dreams to you.
Right.
So.
And if we would come to each other to validate or to, not to validate it, but to approve it. Mm-hmm. If she's coming to me with a dream and I just don't see it, like she wants to paint the living room. And I'm like, what's wrong with the paint now? It might kill her dream of painting the living room. I'm just using that for example. Whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Because it's important to me because it's important to you, but I'm like, whatever.
It's like if I would come to you and say, I want to run a marathon.
You wouldn't want me to do it with you, I hope.
You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't see it.
I do not get it. I'd be no. Like,
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
This is the dumbest thing. Like why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
Like, are they letting the lions loose?
Yeah.
They gonna put a meat vest on you? Like, what's that? That's where my mind goes.
So if I would put all of my hopes on running this marathon on what you said, I would not do it. I would never do it.
You wouldn't do it.
That's right.
Because I would think that's the dumbest thing on the planet.
Exactly.
But being aware of that, so now me being aware of it and knowing that my dreams are mine and I don't go to you for approval. Now I'll go to her to validate it. Hey, look, I'm going to do this. And she'll validate me by giving me her support, knowing that
I don't feel as strongly about it because it's not as important.
Right. The emotional investment is not there because it's not hers. But she'll support me, and I would support her in a marathon. I cheer her on from the outside.
Yeah. Don't be a dream killer.
Right. So knowing that, like, we can be there for each other to do it. All right. Any closing thoughts?
I think we covered it.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, keep that in mind.
Don't be a dream killer.
Don't be a dream killer. And listen, if you're out there with a dream and you need someone to talk about it with you, shoot us an email, jacobgaspard.com. We have a link you can press and tell us, about it there, and we'll talk to you about it because we'll encourage you on it. I promise you, because God gave the dream to you. He didn't give it to us. He didn't give it to anybody else. And we want to see you live your dreams. All right. So anyway, if you got any topics, by the way, too, make sure that you send it to us, Jacob at jacobgaspard.com. Again, jacobgaspard.com on the website. You can click a link and send us your video or podcast topics or questions, and we'll be glad to go and dive into that with you. And of course, like us on Facebook, all social media, follow us on social media, share this video if you think it's helpful. And this concludes the Jacob Gaspard podcast.